Did y'all hear about how the governor of Texas done sent 2 busloads of undocumented individuals to the residence of the vice president? Well, that just got me thinking. How did Texas come about as a state? Join me for Barely Knows What He's Talking About, hosted by yours truly.
Texas, it's a state.
So Mexico gained independence from Spain in 1821. Mexico was sparsely populated, after the Spaniards killed off most of the Aztec and Mayan populations. After gaining independence from Spain, Mexico began to invite Americans, the United States brand, into their country. Americans were white because, both countries practiced slavery at the time, and black people were not considered people. The ancestors of the British Empire, not the rich part of the empire, the poor part that had to flee to the Americas to get away from the ruling part of the empire, did what they did best. They began to take control. The Republic of Texas declared their emancipation from the more Mexican part of Mexico in 1836. The Republic of Texas stayed its own sovereign state for 9 whole years before the colonizers were able to return to the United States. U.S. Congress, with apprehension, because of slavery, agreed to annex the Republic of Texas, and Texas became a state in 1845. Oh, but it only took 9 years to become a state because of Congress's reservations. The non-Mexican Mexicans wanted to join the United States right after saying F you to the Mexicans 9 years prior. Now, before becoming a state, Texas had to decide whether it wanted to be a free state or a slave state. Ha 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 ha! Free state or slave state? Mexico abolished slavery in 1829. Why y'all think we trying to come back home with Mexican land as tribute? Not Mexico. The land formerly known as Mexico, the Republic of Texas, the state soon to be known as Texas, sells off a piece of its northern peninsula. I want to say the part above the Mason-Dixon line, but it was definitely the part above the geographically designated line for free states versus slave states, so that it can be granted slave state status. Not Mexico, the land formerly known as Mexico, the country formerly known as the Republic of Texas, the state of Texas joining the U.S. as a slave state helped popped off the 2-year-long Mexican-American War. Mexico's concern was that the United States of America was basically colonizing the Americas. In 1861, 16 years after joining the U.S., Texas secedes from the Union. 3 months later, the Civil War starts with Texas fighting to keep black people as not people. The Civil War raged for 4 years. And thank God, the Union won. Yay, Union soldiers! Now, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1863 by a former slave owner. This might be hard to prove because of who writes history books. And then President Abe Lincoln, who was definitely racist. He didn't believe in equality. But small steps, Abe. Small steps. At the time, Texas was not a Union state, so that meant nothing to them. The Civil War ended on April 9th, 1865, which meant all Confederate states had to abide by the 1863 law, the 13th Amendment, which didn't actually end slavery. It only ended how slavery was practiced in the United States. Texas was the last state to abide by the law when Union soldiers marched into Galveston on March 19th, 1865. Juneteenth! Yay! After true emancipation in the reunited United States, Texas calmed itself down. Bah! Psych! As a deep South state, Texas was deep into racist practices. It held up segregation laws, promoted groups like the KKK, fought against civil rights and integration, etc., etc., etc. The Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964. Yay, civil rights! All states had to abide by these laws, and Texas had to start treating black people like people. Since then, more black families have been moving back into Texas than away from Texas. Ever since then, Texans began to embrace the idea of diversity. Texas has constantly threatened to secede based on American immigration laws. Why? Because it's Texas. And Texas has one of the raciest racist history. Fortunately, today, Texas has too much diversity for those pushing for secession to be able to actually do such a thing. This has been Barely Knows What He's Talking About, hosted by yours truly. Make sure you fact check everything I said because I ain't got no links pointing to resources that back up what I said in this video. Anyway, y'all know this is satire, so don't hate me, don't shoot me down in the comments. It's satire. Just check out your history. Find out for yourself what actually happened throughout Texas history. They're racist Texas people. The future is coming, and it's very diverse.